to this one. The last 3 games of the day to kick off day 1 of the survival stage, and already some of the squads blank starting to deliver, other falling behind, and they've got to bring up that pace. They've got to play with passion and ferocity right now.
Some teams punching the trees right now. They've created themselves a bit of shelter towards the top side of the lobbies. Others, they've been left out cold in the night towards the bottom side. You got Team Spirit. What is that? 2 points in 3 matches. Disgraceful behavior.
Spirit, where you been?
Spirit, where you been?
Spirit, where you been?
It's not good. It is really, really not good. And honestly, for Team Spirit, it's sort of a team that I thought would come into this were just swinging, honestly, and they just haven't picked up the pace so far. IWNRX, on the other hand, hats off to them. They're doing really well.
Oh yeah, they are. But man, you know how you'd be doing really well, Blank? If you had yourself one of those GT20 Pros, you were playing PUBG Mobile on it, you'd be doing really well.
Yeah, I'd be seeing everything. Beautiful display, beautiful phone. Designed with that cyber mecha finish.
Ooh.
Jeez, it's nice.
Oh, it really is. It really
I'd pick it up just for that sentence alone.
You got it. That's the tagline. That's how the real you in. They've seen your shirts. They know.
They're like, ooh, I can get this guy. I say the word cyber, you say the word buy. I'll be like, yes.
Yeah, that's a sale. And it's going to be a fire sale of games that we have remaining for the last portion of the day. And I'm glad we're in the booth for it, expecting some absolute scenes when we get into this one. And it's only going to get more fierce, trying to decide who's actually going to break into that top 4, if we're going to have much of a shift towards the end of the day. Because honestly, Blank, survival stage is over before it's even really started. You have to accumulate those points in such a short space of time. Leave no stone unturned. You've got to live or die by the sword.
It's fast. Time's ticking. The hourglass, the sands of time are running out for some of these teams. So they've got to slap the sands in a hand, rub it together, and try and get something done because they're losing their grip on these matches so far. And I think that you look at some of these squads, I mean, Moneymakers, 10 points. D plus Kia came out swinging on that first day of gameplay over in the group stage, and yet here they are. What a fall from grace that they have had. But some teams are really living in the moment. IWNRX in particular, 51 points over 3 matches. That is an unbelievable scoreline. They are on, to put this in perspective, an 100-point day at the end of the day at this rate, which I think is unlikely, but they basically qualified off that alone.
Yeah, they've given themselves a real big buffer and potentially put a bit of a target on their backs. That's the only element that we could see if they can stop being such a point hoover over the course of the rest of today, or how that storyline's going to develop. But it's interesting, man. We're coming in at a fever pitch of the competition here in the survival stage, and we've not been live for very long today, but it's already getting tasty.
I feel like I can kind of understand what's happening. I said it before, but this is a bully team, right? Once you sit them in a lobby with the feeder teams, which these guys aren't really, but they're the feeder teams of the international scale, let's put it that way. I think that they will just go absolutely ham, and they're going to take fights wherever they want. And I think that's the good thing about IWNRX, is that they have that ability just to force teams out of position off pure gun skill alone. I do think that perhaps this is more of a sense that the group stage was too much pressure for them. I think that they were really feeling the heat over there. You put them in this setting, not much to lose at this point. It's just a quick send to the top 2 days. You don't have a lot of time. They're just giving it. And I think this is how they should have played during the group tournament. But it's happened that it came a little bit too late, but also just in time.
Oh yeah, exactly. And I think again as well, you get a little bit more time to acclimate to the grand stage. You know, it's huge down there. I mean, even in real life outside of camera, like you see just how intense that stage is. Everyone stacked on top of one another, all the eyes on you, the crowd that's in the STC arena as well. Like there is quite a lot of energy. So trying to fix those mistakes as the day's going on, where you don't have much time in between days, it's rough for you, bud. But at least that 1 day break, open the bag a little bit, reset mentally, come in here and try and put your best foot forward. They're doing that.
Yeah, I've seen IWNRX. I've been chilling. I think that more than anything, these guys have been raring to go. I think they would have rather played yesterday because they realized they had that full reset in their hands. But this is the team that I don't think wants to go quietly into that night. They would love to get themselves into the main tournament, show their fans what they can do, because they can certainly hit some big numbers, some big shots. DRX currently on our screens. Bit of a change of pace for them today. They were looking a little bit better towards the start of things, and then once again have fallen off. It has been a rough tournament so far for DRX. Coming off the back of, you know, quite some decent games over in their own region into this, it's just pretty bad.
Yeah.
We can leave it there pretty bad. And we've moved on to Harami, bro, who were equally suffering in that group tournament. I don't think there was too many teams that were suffering that badly, but between DRX and Harami, bro, things were just not working, and it looks like the car is still broke for both these teams.
Meanwhile, Team Spirit on your screens as well. Their average survival time today hasn't been great for them. They've been struggling in the open moments.
About 30 seconds.
Yeah, bro, like a few seconds at least. I mean, maybe
they've glimpsed
it up a bit, but it's going to be really hard for them, man. It feels quite sad. You know, you've come in, been already deflated over the course of the first three. How'd you get that steam back? Yeah,
possibly even defeated at this point in time, because I don't know how you get that steam back rolling. They're going to have to be over by the engine, shoveling the coal in, because that's all they can really do at this point in time, and just try and hype each other up at this midpoint of the day. You've got 9 more games. IWNRX has sort of just sent it, right? Which effectively, if IWNRX doesn't continue to do silly things, right, throughout the rest of the day, there is 3 spots available. We'll put it that way.
Already one of them almost feeling like it's guaranteed with how the games have gone so far.
It's the confidence, dude.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy, right? You take the elevated angle, you instantly spot out Nomi, separated from the rest of the Spirit squadron. You put bullets onto him, he barely gets out. Got to retreat, recoil, try and reset with the rest of the gang. But Wolf laser focus, those eyes are hooked in. He knows anyone comes through this jungle, they're a target.
The funny thing is that, you know, Zed Wolf, pretty beefy guy, right? You know, never wears the glasses though on broadcast. Today, the glasses have come out.
Long range shots going to be looking good.
He's locked in. He's locked in for survival stage. You know what? I've got to bring out the rims. It's required. It's required here in this prestigious tournament. There goes the top side there. We've got Brute Force, Chudo, taking shots over towards Pandem. Moneymakers, very similar to Brute Force, I'd say, but not for this tournament. They have really changed things up. And although Moneymakers aren't doing great right now, I really want to compliment them during their group stage, because I think that they've had a massive shift in playstyle from EMEA into the World Cup. And I think for PMWC, this is a very, very tough tournament. And to shift your playstyle around that much in such a short order, very, very impressive. So although Moneymakers, they might not make it into that top 4, I think that they could be very proud of themselves, what they've been able to achieve here. And I think that when they go back through to EMEA for the next Super League, they'll be doing very well off the back of it.
It was nice bumping into Old Boy as well yesterday. He was asking how Maxman was doing, saying he hopes to see him back on the broadcast, and he finally got his wish. Max has returned, and maybe that will give them the extra stock they need there.
Yeah.
A little bit of Maxman energy, get everyone playing better. You don't want to disappoint Max, Blank.
You do not, because he will curse you.
He'll let you know.
He'll let you know. Get out his little cauldron, start brewing some potions. You'll feel a little pinch in the night, you know it's all over.
I've been maxed.
I've been maxed.
Yeah.
I've been maxed upon. And I think that, realistically, max does also bring a blessing. You know, as much as he curses teams, there's also blessings there as well. Next circle, though, all the way down to Primorsk. A lot of water in this one, but we're shoving teams down towards that south side. Slight slope that heads down towards that south side, but it is Primorsk, which is the main feature here, as well as those beachheads, which teams might have to circumvent around the side of. A tough rotation for a lot of squads, but on top of that, there is the swamps, there's some compounds around here, but it is these rotations inwards that are getting dangerous. Team Spirit find themselves a flush and a knock early on here. Happy with that one. Weakening Rook as they pass through and looking for some more.
It's just been Nomi. He's happy to roam further ahead of the pack, take that anchor roll and start off those engagements when he sees isolated fights. And it's a clean one to take. You instantly take that one Elam point, slow down Rook a little bit and force them to get on moving. Problem is, there could be a backstab as the rest of Spirit are taking heavy casualty now.
Panda taking shots over towards Effect. Not an easy player to lose there. Kind of reminiscent to how we've seen Team Liquid playing in that group stage, despite them, you know, just sauntering in towards the end, but they were constantly playing a man down. And that's tough to do and still make it in. DRX shots over towards Besiktas Black, and it was always going to be this case where moving into this circle, extremely rough, requires a different caliber of team to make it. But Tong Jiabao taking names. There's a couple of players from Moneymakers feel the burn.
Isolated and already taking a lot of damage to kick this one off then. TJB are in a good spot. You've got nades coming downhill at least, but the compound control will provide them with cover, and there's a wall of smokes ahead of them. They even look for the opportunity to strike in the back, trying to play medic as well. One man down. You've got to think about your priorities here. Slide him down the hill, get the smoke walls up, and isolate these angles. Don't give a free peek for Koa. He's roaming around with a vehicle.
Now, right now, Tongji about feeling slightly weakened as they do have to invest a player into that res, which effectively sets them at a 2-player count there. The Moneymakers, they sort of wanted to try and take advantage of that as much as they can. Brute Force look to have made a little bit of a boat rotation down towards that south side to get into Primorsk. Pretty big gamble, I would say, though. The circle not quite closed in as heavily as some others so far. So I think for Brute Force going down here, yeah, big gamble into Primorsk. Let's see if it pays off.
Yeah, it could be some big angles that other teams
find
against them. You know, you never know, but could make it a little bit awkward. The Mad Bulls just on the cusp, everyone else on parade as they slowly usher themselves forward into that smaller zone. A lot of it, like you say, just being taken up by the deep blue sea. No Poseidon action here though, Blank. No Tridents to try and help you out controlling these bumpy waters.
That's for sure, but talking to Tridents, you got Team Spirit currently on their trio on that eastern side, desperately trying to stay relevant in this tournament. A team that came second place, first place, second place in their group stage, only now to fall short in their finals, and looks like they're falling short now here in the survival stage. It is a team that I think a lot of people had high hopes for coming into the PMWC, at least the survival stage, but they are not delivering. But there is so many eyes on their back here, Jackie.
Everyone wanting to target them, realizing they're already so far down a slippery slope to start off today. So if they make mistakes, it could get very bumpy for them quite early. D+ Kia spotting out the rotate from Pandem as well as they come down the wayside. Got to kick it into second gear here. Try and get out of the angle. Avoid being tagged up by those bullets. A little bit chip damage onto a few of them. One takes a heavy hit in the back as well.
Yeah, it's a tough rotation for a lot of teams here, Jackie, honestly. I think that right now, I would say Moneymakers have actually played this quite cleanly despite losing a player, which is difficult, but getting down this coast on the western side has a decent ridgeline to play off the back of. The difficulty is going to be now, Jackie, is playing up towards that northern edge where you've got 3 teams sat and waiting with CAG, Osaka, Tongji Bao, as well as Inco, who have been really wanting some points here.
Inco. And they build something up for us the longer this one goes on. DRX with the nades, casting those out one after another. You see the opportunity to seize this engagement versus Pandem. A well-placed nade could be the difference maker. Shots round the side of the tree as well. Carving the DRX logo into the bark, but it's the nade that has more bite.
Pandem will just try and hold on here. Your players down towards that south side. With a cheeky peek there as much as he can, but it's DRX who is just blowing them out the water right now. They're stuck in this ditch. Not much they can do about it. But this is a very central position, at least for DRX. They're alongside with the final player, I believe, now from Team Spirit. What a horrendous run it has been for them.
It hasn't gotten any easier over the course of the day. Feels like you've been hit with the unlucky stick, and each and every game we're seeing that spin cycle occur to them. Pandem as well, only down to the solo off of that engagement they were locked into with DRX. Going to make it harder for you to rack up more points, keep the safety net in 4th place.
I love this rotation from the Moneymakers, heading directly down to the south now. They hear a lot of the shots on that northern side. They're like, this is not for us. Let's head further south here. On our screens, D+ Kia trying to fend off versus squad in front.
Nades cast in, clearing out the close angles. Rame, bro, trying to split their mind between 2 decisions here. Do they play for the offense in case D+ Kia go in aggro? The DBS pulled out on the close angle. Weren't ready for that one as the chips are down. The man's going to grab himself a royal flush.
DBS comes out, and when the chips are down, the chips come up here for D+ Kia, it seems. Very nice. The DBS, a hellish weapon to go against up in the warehouse where there's so many angles you can play off the back of. Kakali here, Vitali, sorry, from Inco, holding off versus CAG Osaka, who seem to have some kind of a lifeline injected into them. And with a sudden shift on the circle, that gamble for Brute Force has now just elevated in value a ton.
That's a plus EV play. Their stock's going to go up on that one. You can try and build yourself in the later the game goes on. Inko as well, still taking shots back down. COG Osaka, they're trying to move out, see if they can reposition from that rough spot they were left in with limited cover to work on. Rook also taking bullets towards the back as the fights are breaking out all over the shop.
Scary thing though, Jackie, IWNRX, 4 players still up on that eastern side. The Hoover, it's not done yet. This is industrial hoovering that's going on during these games. Sucking up all the points that they can in these matches. And they've set themselves up for great success on the outside. Now, you can see, well, you will soon, I hope. Over on the western side, I'll break it down for you in the meantime. There is so many teams that have sat themselves up, posted in Primorsk. Right now, IWNRX is one of the only teams outside the circle that is not in Primorsk. So if this shifts over towards the east, Jackie, then you have a case where IWNRX just controls so much zone. Twisted Minds, though, looking to take them back.
Oh, mate, the nade is what saves them. Twisted Minds. It looked like they were going to get a bullet through where their thoughts get processed before they could even clean up on the play they committed to. Zed Wolf was able to trace and track, and the nade is dashed back in. Near miss on that one.
Very close, dude. Another one pops over the top. He's jumping into it. Just about gets out the way with the vehicle. Is sent down the hill.
He's got to tuck in, play medic now, reset himself. It was looking good for the initial engagement, but the longer it's gone on, Twisted Minds, it really started to slip through their fingertips, and they're so fragmented in terms of the setup. IWNRX, they've got range to play with, and they're going to start getting ushered in as well. Not looking good for them.
Yeah, for IWNRX, they're playing a really strong position. I think Hygo understands he needs to get some more information on. This is a bold move from him. Ball immediately gets shut down, and I think it was too bold, in fact.
Oh yeah, there's an underline on that one. The font's 24 points deep, and it's not going to go well. You're really fragmenting your squad, losing so much manpower, down to a horrific position to try and recover from. You've got to call for the backup, the cavalry coming in inside of the vehicle. But IWNRX, they've been handling these fights. If they can catch them on the getaway as well, some bullets in the back, it could really ruin their time here.
Yeah, they've got to switch this into italics now, Jackie, because Obscure's only got Ratto Boy to lean on now, as they head themselves into Primorsk, which seems to be the general idea for most teams in the lobby. Falcons up towards that north side, another team that a lot of people thought would just head straight through to the main tournament. And here they are in the survival stage, not doing too badly, currently in 4th place as they lose a player.
Tongjiabao, an awkward fight for them. Constant nades barraging in, no easy getaway. You have to sit there and take the splash damage, and the shrapnel ruins their chances. So they're gone, removed from the equation. Here we go though, Falcons up on the hill. We've been talking about if they can spread their wings and start to cause some issues in a matchup like this. They got nades for it. Downhill battle, you should be in a good spot. Low HP as well, just got to get him on target, and Chips is going to buckle on that one. Not as clean as it was previously for him. D plus Kia, they've whittled themselves down to just one man, a solo that's forced to try and think about the bigger picture. You know the fight's gone.
Falcons do look to be spreading the wings and flapping them, enveloping D plus Kia and a gale from upside the hill here, and they will be sent back via that tornado. Great play there from Falcon so far. I'm enjoying the position they're taking. They're taking control of this high ground on the northern side. They've had a similar idea to IWNRX, which they think that, look, man, a lot of people are putting too much stock in Primorsk right now. So many players are going to have to try and escape this one as the circle heads further towards our north side. There is so much ground which is just free and open for CAG Osaka as well as Falcons just to manipulate. IWNRX now even shifting up on that eastern side. Man, the teams with all the points only seem to be getting more as Nobu is sent back to the lobby there with a nade that just bounces over the top. Falcons do not want to let a position like that go unpunished.
They want to keep themselves building, climbing up the rankings and guaranteeing themselves a good finish towards the end of the day. 3 Elim points in the pocket. If they can keep this going, there might be something to be said about Falcons' resurgence here in the survival stage. A lot of squads nearby, though. They at least fussed onto the last man there and clean house on the engagement that kicked off a little while back. You can see it from the map screen, the spread that we've got here. CAG Osaka as well down towards the bottom side, with Moneymakers starting to move their way up. At one point in this game for Moneymakers, it felt like it was already pretty over. The fact they've still got 3 players to work with, maybe there's some longevity to it.
Yeah, it's a smart rotation, and one that they could only have made in that moment. So many teams had already bought their way into Primorsk, and they decide, look, there's some really good high ground we can play on that side. They've already pre-scouted a lot of this rotation back on the beachhead up towards the north, so they can potentially play off the back of CAG Osaka. It's a bit of a difficult one to go for, but I do like the way the Moneymakers are playing. And having Old Boy back in the roster, playing with the team, most likely, is the beautiful thing here. I think that's the main thing I like to see, is that, you know, he's been on the bench for a while, but it feels like he's learned his lesson.
Yeah, going off the leash a bit too much, potentially the aggression, the overconfidence in some fights got the better of him. If he can shape up, fly right, help out the rest of the team, we know his gun skill can reign supreme in a lot of those fights. This is when we said goodbye to TJB. That was the nade that absolutely ruined their dreams. Yeah,
and that cleared out a lot of space for Osaka on that western side, which was much needed. I like this play from Falcons. They understand that this is a large amount of high ground that they've got to control on this northern side, so they leave Nerzed on his own, playing a pretty defensive position on the western side, but the rest of Falcons, they're trying to deal with the slow encroaching push that's coming through from IWNRX, who have already sent one of their players up towards that northern side in Swain. He's just getting some scouting done, but I like that from Falcons. They're understanding they need to control both of these sides here. They cannot let players get up to that compound on the east. This is very well done. The circle, however, centers up. Now, this is a really horrible crossing towards this road that you can see on your screens. A lot of barricades in that location, the ticket boxes. It's going to be an awfully weird endgame. For some of the teams on the south side, they're lucky in the fact they've still got buildings to play with from Primorsk, but they'll have to fend off from the amount of teams that are going to be bounding, leaping, jumping from window to window from that south side, trying to claim some kind of position.
It's where that movement, that game sense, the understanding of how to weave your way around encounters and when to kick off a fight is going to do so much for you. A lot of these squads going to be crouching low, waiting like an animal to pounce in beast mode, and just biding their time. You can see it with a fragmented duo of Twisted Minds as well. They got to keep their bellies down to the ground. Only get stuck into an engagement if there is a confirmed way they can steal some points. Falcons on the move up, take some damage back on the top as well, and get in position. IWNRX are their challengers for this one, and they've got a nade to throw straight down onto them. They want to isolate and remove the fights from Falcons here.
Great play there from Frozen, opening things in a big way. And the thing is, Falcons made a smart rotation coming down to this small valley here. They wanted to cut off IWNRX, but that opener there is huge.
This could really be big for them. They want to commit off the back of the establishing damage done, but there's a shot back from Nerzed, the point man that we spoke about. We know that he can be lethal from a distance, and again, his injection comes through.
10 nades on action here. Looking to explode the guys from IWNRX backwards. Yes, they've lost a player, but they're not down and out just yet. IWNRX equally takes some punishment, and then some more nades going to the top. Frozen lucky to get away from that one. That he was in the buggy when he went past. I think that the guys on Falcons, they've got enough ordnance to potentially deal with this, but it's all starting to kick off down towards that south side. Brute Force open things up on towards Mad Bulls.
Near miss on the nade as well. And that's the difference of the utility having so much stock in an elongated fight like this. The constant smokes that provide a shroud for Falcons with the bombardment of nades that roll in. Spirit finally taken out as well. And everyone's going to have to get a bit of a move on here, Blank. Things are starting to heat up. Twisted Minds, they've been biding their time. And that's the backstab onto IWNRX.
Too much fighting happening in an elongated period of time there. And this is why the rotation for the Falcons was so smart. Getting into that little valley covers them from Primorsk. IWNRX need to finish out that fight quickly. When Frozen got that initial nade, I think they just had to jump on it. Instead, they wait around a little bit too long. There's been openings from the back line. And this might be the first game in a while where IWNRX does not just take the cake all the way home. They do get 5 eliminations on the match and probably a top 8 here. We'll see what more they can do, but I doubt it's very much. So I do like the way that Falcons played this one out, but Frozen not done yet. Ever since that initial grenade, he's been feeling it.
Oh, don't give him the opportunities. Don't give him the satisfaction. DBS in close range is going to be awkward from the distance that they've got, and Top was able to turn, set his attention back on them. You've still got Twisted Minds as well. That duo that's been crouching around, striking whenever there's a third party to fight on, and that's how we say goodbye to IWNRX.
For the first time today, we see IWNRX go out relatively early, let's say. Very, very nicely done from Twisted Minds, because we remember this is a team that was super hurt by IWNRX in the first place. They get some sweet, sweet revenge towards the end there versus Frozen. And Twisted Minds get to carry on as two with what is not a bad position right now to hold that team's coming through from Primorsk. It's really brute force that's on my mind. They've got two players, but they're in a horrendous position, surrounded by teams. And also, how can Falcons close this one out? They've got to be ever so careful here.
There's no room for error. Already in a few fights, it's looked a bit jittery, but they do isolate that engagement versus Obscure. They spotted him out on the hill. He's been getting away with murder for far too long, so now he's down and out. It's just Rattaboy that's left, and he was playing a completely different style of matchup, but the Bison claps back. All right, Falcons take a hit from the side. That's DRX from the distance.
DRX have had a super central position from the very start of the game, and controlling these compounds is going to be huge for them. They have 4 limbs, but they've just been trying to make sure they've got enough ammo here. You can see even just on the barrel, only just getting that refresh there for QXZ. So important, but yeah, this is basically a gated community right now for DRX. Playing also in the 3-story, I like that, having that outpost, you can always move back later on. Rattaboy is grenaded out of position. That will be Twisted Minds going out in 7th place with 3 elims.
Scrambled and out, tried as much as they could to push the initiative with the 2 players they had, but forced to fight. The exchange of nades goes against him. Like you said, that gated community evicting more and more tenants that live here. No rent to be paid right now. Old boy sticking himself back into the action as moneymakers are looking to get some stacks on this one.
Yeah, no, that's a power play right there. You take 80% of your HP, you don't pull out a first aid kit, you pull out the nade. You know you've got to send something back to give yourself a little bit of time, a little bit of presence here, and it has forced NERZ off the position, which is what I like to see. Now, it is realistically moneymakers versus Falcons on this north side. Most teams on the south can't really afford to move out. DRX is just holding things in position. So we have these 2 isolated fights going on at the same time. Old boy takes another nasty hit. I think he's only got 1 more first aid kit as well. And NERZ creeps ever closer now.
Belly down on the ground, trying to slowly close that distance, but not reveal himself to different positions. He knows that these nades could be lucrative if they're on target, and Old Boy maintains his current position, trying to play for the heal. Meanwhile, brute force as well, taking shots from DRX.
Big names been taken away by DRX so far, and they have just had a beautiful setup and the center of the circle for so long. Nice little transition as well from them to the compound that's further towards the center of the circle. This is going to be hard to dismount the team from. They're one of the few teams that has maintained 4 players for this long. However, we have seen DRX choke so many times before. There was a nice little knock that went through to the moneymakers. Now just Havlik a lot on his back to do.
And they know his position now. That was the last nade that was tossed from NERZ, but it baited out the face. Ooh, Molotov as well, denying the opportunity to go in for a quick pick-me-up style play. Firing bullets out, trying to put the pressure back on them. See if he can plant those seeds of doubt and going for the confidence pickup. Knows that he has to keep Old Boy alive and really gambling on this one.
I like this play from DRX as well. They're moving up earlier, not just letting this fight go unhampered. But NERZ, Spox Hyunbin, he's going down. This guy's on the swivel right now, knows he needs to be dealing with the teams coming through from the open in Primorsk. At the same time, the Falcons looking to put up big points this match.
The Rock'em Sock'em rope. Oh, there we go. That's going to take the head clean off. The nade's on target, but it's again an opportunity to counter back. NERZ on the peak, good for 1. It's a trade from Havlik, but he's so low. He can't seize the opportunity that's been presented to him. He's got to drop back down, go for the quick pick-me-up, see if he can actually save Old Boy with the zone nipping at their heels and the paranoia about the peak from Falcons.
DRX cleaved in half. The great axe coming through from both Falcons and the moneymakers at the same time. Can't feel too good about that one. Look at that. They retreat immediately back into their buildings. The confidence just isn't there, Jackie. They realize these warehouses are way, way too exposed. Falcons will finish off Old Boy and get the flush on it. NERZ goes down. 2 players now for Falcons. Just the 1 on moneymakers. They have held on for so long here, but the knuckles starting to go white in the grip.
They might lose their grip on things if it carries on like this. If Havlik can do something huge, bit of a risky peek on the side as well, but he gets in the building, avoids a potential timeline where he goes down without even getting close to causing problems. Quick switching his way through the weapons, calling in for the backup. They know they need to find their way through this house. Shotgun up top, biding their time for the peek. You've got nades raining down on you as well. They're looking lost in the clutch, lost in the fight right now.
For DRX, so this is bad news. The circle is pushing in. Havlik somehow keeping things alive for so long, but it will be DRX to come in and finish that one up. You got QXD over the top, a big task ahead of them.
This is what it all goes down to then. Can one man make a difference? Can it all be on him for Falcons to clutch it out? Or will DRX complete their legacy and take the win on this one? Grab themselves not only the elims, but the points for the chicken dinner as they find it and shut down the Falcons in second place. A chicken dinner for DRX.
A really huge game there for DRX as well, because they were far down the rankings. Things started off fairly decently at the start of the day, and then they just weakened